Hi all. Now I will show you my game that I played today. It turned out to be a very interesting party. So I played black. My opponent made the first move with the king's pawn on e4. I answered with the king's pawn on e5. My opponent brought the knight to c3. I brought the knight to f6. Then he put his pawn on g3. Obviously with the idea of placing the bishop on g2. What do I do next? I brought the knight to c6. He put the pawn on b3. What do I do next? I put the pawn on a6. Made such a move that he would not put the bishop on b5 or the knight. Well, in general I have such a style of play. I love doing so. Those who play with me know that I like to push the outer pawns. And so what he does next? He placed his bishop on b2. What do I do next? I pushed my queen pawn to d5. What does he do? He takes my pawn with his pawn. I run away with my knight because he attacked the knight with a pawn. And I put the knight on d4. What he does? He puts the bishop on g2. He defends his pawn on d5 with both bishop and knight. What do I do next? I bring my bishop to g4. Attacking the queen. He closes with his horse. By the way, good move. What I do next is I take the pawn to d5 with my knight. He took my horse with his elephant. And what do I do next? I took the bishop with my queen and my queen attacks the rook. Rooks must go. But what is the situation if he leaves, let's say with the rook on g1? I would just put the knight on f3 check and take the rook. If he put the rook on f1 I would put the knight on f3. In general it would be checkmate. So he basically made the right move. He castling like this, he castling. In this way he killed his boat. I just put my knight on f3 and check. He moved his king to f1. I take the knight to g5 and check from the queen. He covers himself with a pawn. Since the king cannot retreat to the former place g1, he hides behind the pawn. I take a pawn with a bishop and make a check. He must take the rook, otherwise he will get a checkmate. He takes the rook. I took the queen. I check. He can move his king to g1. And then I just put the knight on h3 checkmate. Here's a great attack I made. I think that the party turned out to be very interesting. Here checkmate I could a little earlier. If he hadn't taken my bishop with his rook I would have checkmate earlier. Well, in general, as if I had options here. I understood that I was doing what kind of attack I was carrying out. As if in this attack there is one interesting trap, and with the help of this trap I have already developed my attack. And I had different options here. If you have any questions about this game, about this attack, ask me, I will definitely answer. I think that the party turned out to be very interesting. Very instructive. I advise you to put it on the board to analyze each of my moves. Every move of my opponent. If you have any questions, be sure to ask, I will answer all. Subscribe to Play Chess. And remember, every chess master was once a beginner.